What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for some more content for you guys. And now we've got a break in the season. I think it's a good opportunity to look back to the start of the season, seeing what Spurs have done, give a bit of review on it, see what we can do better, see what we need for the second part of the season.
Take stock on all things.
Yeah, exactly. So a lot has been made out of Spurs' start to the season. Started it really well in terms of results. I mean, we didn't lose until, what was it, the Arsenal game, up until just after the first international break.
We lost in the Champions League to Sporting, but yeah.
Yeah, but I'm talking about in the Premier League. I think that in terms of results, we were going really well, but the performances, people were still kind of saying, yeah, not good enough. The results and performances are going to catch up with us. Do you think that's happened?
You can definitely. I definitely think you could make it. I wouldn't say that performances are catching up on us, although what I would say is the results we were getting potentially with the performances early in the season were a bit unsustainable. But the fact that the losses we have been getting in the second part of the season, I guess you can say, I guess it is fair, because once we faced better teams, we came unstuck, and that's maybe what a lot of the argument was. So I think you could probably, because in the first half of the season we were getting good results. The only one though against like a top half team was against Chelsea, where we got a last minute draw. We were very lucky to get that draw as well. All the other games,
you could say West Ham as well. They did finish 7th the season before.
Okay, we got a draw there, but we didn't beat them. All the other wins really were against teams who were in the bottom half, especially this season. So I think it probably is fair to say that results were probably caught up with our performances, although the results have still been pretty good overall. So it's hard to analyse as if that really happened, because if you're saying the results are going to catch up with us in terms of dropping out of the title race, yeah, you're probably right. But in terms of being in the top 4, I still think we're pretty good for that at the moment.
We are good for that. Obviously, it's a long way to go. We're not even at the halfway stage yet. Close to, but not there just yet. In terms of the Premier League campaign, I think that if we would have said we'd be 4th going into the World Cup break, we would have accepted that, wouldn't we?
Yeah, and I think we're 3 points behind Man City in second. The fact that we're 8 points behind Arsenal, that's the thing that gives everyone a lot of anxiety, I guess, and disappointment. If you changed Arsenal and Man City around, I don't think anyone's unhappy right now. It's the fact that Arsenal are 8 points clear and they're flying high. You can't help but look at them and think, how do we let them get so far ahead? And that's the disappointment. But I think as you say, before the season starts, top 4 and through in the Champions League, I don't think you can have too many complaints, especially with the gaping holes in the squad, which are clearly still there. And the disappointing thing is the holes that we're seeing right now are pretty much what we expected to see at the beginning of the season. Nothing's new. Nothing surprised us, It's not like Højbjerg and Bentancur turned rubbish or anything. They've actually improved. It's not like, I guess Son's a bit surprised us a bit, but Kane's still scoring. Kulusevski and Richarlison, when they've played, have been fairly good, or especially Kulusevski. It's like the classic problems what we've always had are still there: right wing back and centre back.
And that's why we were so unhappy in the summer, right? Because we knew those were the problems of the season before, and we knew it was going to creep up on us again this season. And it's not only just creeping up on us, but players that were performing really well, like Eric Dyer last season, he's taken a turn for the worse in terms of his form. And, he's going to need to get back to his levels of last season if we want to kind of, carry on in that trajectory. Yeah,
and I think we started the season pretty well, results-wise, and we were, I think, the way we were playing, I wouldn't say we necessarily didn't deserve the wins we were getting, but it was definitely, they weren't like unbelievable. They weren't brilliant performances. But I think we're
talking about like 1-0 at home to Wolves, when Wolves have been one of the worst teams in the league this season.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say we didn't deserve the win. It's just it wasn't a great performance, but we did get the win.
Forest away as well. Forest did pepper us a little bit that game before we started getting our goals.
But again, we deserved the win, but it wasn't a great performance.
Fulham at home was a good performance. 2-1 win over Fulham. That was a pretty good performance.
They've been few and far between.
And really. Leicester at home was a really good performance after a bit of a tragic first half.
Yeah, which is...
and then it started getting a bit like, I'm not sure about this. Arsenal, we were terrible. Brighton away, we were all right, and Brighton.
I think we went for a good period here. We played well against Frankfurt twice. We played well against Everton. I thought we played well against Brighton. But then ever since, basically what happened was we had the Everton game, where we won that game and that became our best ever start to a Premier League season. Everyone was like, okay, what a job Antonio Conte's in. We're flying high, we're doing good. And it's ever since that game that things started to go off a bit.
But that coincided with the really busy break, didn't it?
Yeah, it coincided with Richarlison getting injured. Kulusevski was already out. Well, Son didn't get injured till much later, but we had Kulusevski.
But Son, he was off form anyway.
He was off form. And then, as you say, the really busy period. No midweeks, relying on the same players over and over again. And that's where the real trouble started.
And did we see a similar pattern last year, maybe kind of in reverse? When we were playing 2 games a week last year, you know, we were suffering for it in terms of our performances and results. And as soon as we went to 1 game a week, the form kind of got so much better because of it.
Yeah.
It's kind of in reverse.
In a way. I don't think it's... I think it's everything altogether. I don't think it's one reason. I think it's the many, many reasons why our form started to fall off so dramatically, especially defensive-wise. Because still, if you look at the games after the Everton game, offensively we're still fairly decent. You know, we came back against Bournemouth, against Sporting. We should have won that game when Kane goal ruled out last minute. Marseille, we scored 2 goals. Liverpool, we played probably one of our best attacking displays of the season, and Leeds, we scored 4 goals. So offensively, we're still keeping up the standards, but what really dropped off is the back line. 2 goals against Man United, 2 goals against Newcastle, 2-0 down against Bournemouth, 1-0 down against Marseille, 2-0 down against Liverpool, 2-0 down against Forest, 1-0, 2-1 and 3-2 down against Leeds. That is what really started to catch up with us. And it's interesting when we hear people complain about our style of play and, you know, our attacking football, when that's actually our biggest strength. That's actually where we're doing well.
Yeah, and actually, when people complain about the style of play and about how we're always defence first, blah, 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 but actually, right now is our 2nd most goals in a Premier League season at this stage, which is unbelievable when you look at what people say about how we play our football and how defence orientated we are.
Yeah, and we've scored, I think, the 3rd most amount of goals in the Premier League.
Yeah,
only behind
City
and Arsenal.
Yeah.
In terms of XG as well, we're in the top 4 in terms of XG. So it's not like it's been a massive overperformance. Like maybe if you remember under Mourinho, we would score lots of goals, but it'll be a big overperformance of XG because it'll be great finishes. Like we are creating good quality chances under Conte. It's not like because I felt like under Mourinho a lot of the time we're relying on, you know, Son to smack in a 25-yarder or, you know, bring in something special. Whereas now I feel like we are creating good quality chances and we're creating good, decent volume of them as well. So I think our attacking football is good.
It's the other end of the table, man. It's the other end of the table. We've conceded 21 goals this season.
Yeah.
You look at Arsenal, 11. Man City, 14. Newcastle, 11. And you're looking at teams lower down in the table, for instance, Leeds. They've conceded 26 goals, and we all know how poor Leeds' defence are. They've only conceded 5 more goals than us, which is crazy to think about. I mean, West Ham, we've conceded more goals than West Ham. We've conceded more goals than Everton.
But again, it goes into our period because we've played 15 games this season. In the first, we've conceded 11 goals in the last 5 games. So in the first 10 games, we conceded 10 goals. That's not like that's obviously it's not like they're not perfect, but that's not a terrible ratio. 10 goals in the first 10 games, you're going pretty good. Last 5 games, we've conceded 11 goals.
It's been shocking.
So that's where we've really fallen off, and I think we've really struggled with the schedule. We've really struggled with depth and overplaying certain players, and I think. And I think as well, when we haven't had the attacking players, even though we've made up for it with Bentancur and Højbjerg chipping in and stuff like that, it still hurts us in general play when we're not able to have the ball in sustained periods of play with the likes of Kulusevski and Richarlison on the ball than we did with them fit. So I think the defensive side of the game has fallen off a cliff really last few games.
Do you think we need signings in the defence to get top 4?
Do I think we need signings in defence to get top 4? It depends on injuries. I mean, I think we can get top 4 if we say injury-free. But if Romero sustains a long-term injury, if Dyer sustains a long-term injury, then no, then we're pretty screwed. We would need a signing, 100%. But if we do get lucky with injuries, but again, you don't want to be so reliant on one or two players, in your back line. So from that point of view, yeah, you're risking it. You're definitely risking top 4 if we don't sign a defender in January.
You're looking at
and a quality one.
You're looking at who we're up against for top 4. So right now, Newcastle in 3rd, Arsenal top. Man United 5th, Liverpool 6th, Chelsea down in 8th. Those are probably who we're looking at as our competition for top 4. Man United, I think they are getting better under Ten Hag. They're starting to gather pace in the season, and I've been quite impressed with what I've seen. They've had some big results this season. Liverpool is an interesting one. I think they are slightly getting better as well as it progresses. I know they've lost 2 out of their last 3 games or 1 out of their last 3 games, but they are starting to put together a few results at the moment. And I have no doubt that I think Liverpool will have a much stronger second half of the season than they had first half. And then you've got Chelsea, who they're on terrible form at the moment, but you do expect Potter to get to grips with it at some stage.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's going to be a dogfight for this top 4.
And
it really will be.
Newcastle, I know they're in there right now. Obviously, they're by no means guaranteed to stay there, but they're playing so well at the moment. It's hard to disregard them, especially with their spending power. Who knows what they're going to spend in January? So it's going to be it's going to be difficult. I still think that we're best positioned to finish there, only because of the manager, not necessarily because of our playing staff. I do believe the manager makes a big difference, and the fact he's had longer with the squad. I think when it comes to Ten Hag and Potter, I think what you're going to see with them is up and down performances and results. And right now for Potter, when he first came in, it was up. Now it's down, and I'm sure it'll be being consistent before he gets the signings he needs and he gets the time with the team. You're going to see inconsistency. So I'm not going to read too much into his wins or his losses. I don't think just because they lose a few games that he's terrible. I don't think just because they win a few games that he's great. And I think it's the same with Ten Hag. I think he's had some big results and performances, but he's also had some inconsistent results. And I think that's also going to be the case with him over this second half of the season. I do think it will help once Ronaldo leaves in January, which is inevitable. Obviously after what's happened with him, that just like how when Aubameyang left Arsenal, it helped them in the dressing room and stuff. I'm sure probably have the same effect with Man United.
They're on really good form in the league, Man United. Really good form. When you're looking at it, 1 loss in their last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games since they lost to Man City.
Okay, 1 loss in 7.
It's really good.
Yeah, but I'm saying they're going to be up and down.
Yeah.
7 games is decent, but they lost to Villa 3-1. It wasn't a great performance, and they got Europa League as well. So they still got. Although they might go out to Barcelona, we'll have to wait and see. But I believe we have the edge over those two. It's whether we're going to have to outdo one of Liverpool, Newcastle, pretty much to get top 4. Or top 3.
There's 2 spaces up for grabs really in the top 4, 3rd and 4th. So, out of Chelsea, Liverpool, Man United, Tottenham, and Newcastle, 2 are going to get in there, in my opinion. I think. Would you say that Arsenal and, well, I know Man City are. Would you say Arsenal are nailed on for the top 4 now?
You have to say so. They're 8 points clear of us in 4th, so that means they're 11 points clear of 5th right now. I don't see a world where they blow that kind of lead. Because they have to blow it. It's not just they have to blow it for 4 different teams. 4 different teams have to go on mad form basically to overtake them. And they have to have a serious drop off. I don't know. It's going to be difficult.
There's such a long way to go, though.
There is a long way to go, but it relies on I think right now they're nailed on. I don't think you can say anything about it. It's also just the way they're winning games. You have to just admit that they're the better team in 9 out of 10 games, pretty much.
But, if they usually get injury problems every season. They haven't had that this season. If they do have that, if they do have a similar sort of like injury problems that we had just now, then I do think the drop-off will come. It's just about if other teams can capitalise on it.
Yeah, but you can also sometimes get lucky. Leicester, they barely had an injury that whole season. They won the league. You know what I mean? And if they get that kind of luck, then they'll get. I still don't think they'll win the title, but they'll get top 4, 100%. They'll probably finish 2nd at the moment, and it's difficult to face. But I can't ignore how good they've been. like they've been exceptional
Yeah.
for those first 14 games.
They have
Better than like, you know, it's hard to put into words, but they've been one of the, this season, like the standards they've set for themselves is higher than I could have expected, much higher, and it's difficult.
But who's to
admit.
say that they'll keep those standards up for the long stretch of the season, especially when they're going to have to start playing their main players in the Europa League as well. I know they've played kind of some of them and bit part teams, but they're going to have to play strong teams when the Europa League comes back around, and that's also going to be taxing on them. And when you're looking at the season, the teams in the Champions League have suffered this season because they've had to play their first teams. Look at Man City, you know. They just lost their last game. They were in the Champions League. Liverpool have been struggling. Chelsea have been struggling. And we've been struggling as well. But the teams in the Europa League haven't been struggling as much as the teams in the Champions League. But when the tournaments come back around and the latter stages come, they're going to have to start using their first teams again.
If they want to have a serious go at Europa League, 100% they do. But then again, who knows what the situation in January is going to be, who we're going to sign, who they're going to sign. A lot of look, there obviously you can't read too much into how the table looks right now, but because there's so much to be determined, what happens at the World Cup, what happens in January. But the way they're playing, it's hard to ignore. And you know, Saliba could sustain a long-term injury tomorrow, and then things would be very different, in my opinion. But I can't base my opinion on that happening. You have to base your opinion on what you're seeing, and what I'm seeing is...
I'm going to base my opinion on that happening.
Well, what I'm seeing is an exceptional team right now, unfortunately, and let's just hope they can't keep it up. They are very young.
You know, we've seen it before with teams.
Not to this scale.
I mean, I remember seeing a Thomas Tuchel Chelsea team at the start of the season. Okay, fine, it wasn't 14 games. It might have been 5 to 10 games or whatever it was. You know, they looked unbeatable at a time at the start of the season, and suddenly they just had this massive drop-off and they were fighting for top 4 again. I mean, it happens to teams, especially teams that haven't been there for a long time.
I know, but I don't think you have that consistency over 14 games. I really don't believe it. But I don't believe it unless you're like that good of a team, if you know what I mean. You can't be lucky over 14 games, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're lucky. I don't think they're lucky because I think they have been the best team hands down by a mile, probably up until now in the Premier League. But like I said, it's a long stretch of a season. They haven't been here for a long time. None of these players have been in this situation before. And
when the pressure gets to them, we'll see.
The pressure
like
will
last
get to
season, they faltered.
Anyway, we're not here to talk about an Arsenal season review. We're here to talk about Tottenham. And in the Premier League, I think it's safe to say that we're going all right at the moment in the top 4. And we just need that more help, don't we? We need help in January. And if we don't get that help, it's going to be very tight.
Yeah. Look, it's interesting what you want to point at. Do you point at our first 10 games of the season and say that represents our defence, or do you point to the last 5 games that we've had and say that's the true representation of our defence? I think probably a fair assessment will probably say it's somewhere in the middle.
Also, you've got to take into account the last 5 games since these goals have been going in. Our best defender hasn't been playing.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So I don't think the situation is as bad as it seems right now, even though our defence is all over the place and we've conceded 11 goals in 5 games. That's bad. I don't believe our defence is as bad as that's portraying right now. But if we do really want to push on in the second half of the season and make sure that we get that top 4, we can't put that to chance. And if we don't want to put that to chance, we need to sign some quality defenders who will either beef up the squad or challenge the first team or get into the first team, so that we can make sure that we don't have periods like we did in these last 5 games, because we're risking that happening again without serious investment. So that's clear. Obviously, right wing back. The problem is, I mean, as much as I want a right wing back and I'm desperate for one, are we going to sell Doherty or Emerson in January? In fact, probably the most likely scenario is Spence to go on loan. So do I really see us spending big money on a wing back without selling one of Doherty or Emerson? I don't, which is annoying to think about, but we need to. But I don't. But the frustrating thing is, I don't see us selling them in January.
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating. It's frustrating because we've got so many players at this club that are just clearly not good enough. Clearly not good enough for where we want to be. You've got Antonio Conte at the helm, which means you've got to be got the title. You have to have the title in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
You have to. And when you're looking at just the defence in general, you mean you've got Ryan Sessegnon on the left, you've got Doherty and Emerson on the right, you've got Dyer, you've got Sanchez, you've got Ben Davis, you've got up front, you're looking at Lucas Moura. You've got so many players there that are just, first of all, some of them are too old anyway, and they just need to be moved on. And the ones that are not too old, they're just clearly not good enough. And they've been here for way too long, stealing a living for way too long at this football club. And it's time. It was time 2 years ago probably to move them on. But, I mean, it's going to be so hard, though, isn't it? Are we going to be in another situation this summer, like all these players coming back, like Harry Winks, Ndombele, Lo Celso, and then we've got a whole new raft of them to get out as well? What state are we in?
I mean, I'll think about that come the summer. No point thinking about it now. But I think that's the problem we've put ourselves by not managing the squad well enough over the years. We've stockpiled a bunch of players that are no good to us, and the problem is because we're paying their wages, we don't want to pay them. But anyway, look, we know those issues. We don't know what the future holds when it comes to these players and stuff like that. But right now, as it comes to how we've done this season, I think the problem has been a lot of the time has been the depth and the schedule all mixed into one, leading to struggle for consistent performances over the 90 minutes, let alone game to game. So, a lot of the games we've been very passive at the start of the game. We haven't found those energy levels till late on. One thing I will say about what's really good is I think the fitness levels are clearly very good. And with our
never say die attitude.
Yeah, the attitude, but as well, clearly our ability to go right till the end, fitness-wise, is there for all to see. The amount of late goals we scored is evidence of that. So I think we've done a good job. Obviously, Ventroni, may he rest in peace, he's done a great job with the fitness, and that's also something as well.
Yeah, nobody mentions that.
No one mentions that. Conte says how hard it's been. He's mentioned it so often, and that's obviously. It's no surprise that a lot of those performances have been after his passing. It's been a very emotional time. But I just think a lot of circumstances have led to our form dropping off in the last few weeks. But I'm still hopeful and I'm still expecting our form to pick up again after the World Cup. And I'm thinking, should we sign some players, which I'm hopeful we will, I think we can have a good second half of the season. I think we've got a lot to look forward to.
If I said to you, hypothetically, you can bring in 2 players in January transfer windows, similar level to Bentancur and Kulusevski, what positions are you picking?
I would pick a centre back and a right wing back. That would be my two options. Yeah.
I'd be exactly the same, centre back and right wing back. But it's just so frustrating because it's just like, how long are we gonna say this? We need centre backs. We need right wing backs. We need centre backs. We need right wing backs. We knew it last summer, and they just didn't pull their finger out to get the business done. And we need it. We need it as soon as possible. And I just can't stress it enough. And I genuinely believe that if we sort this defence out, wing backs included, then we can be right up there. Because I think a lot of the reason why we're so pragmatic and so deep sometimes is because the team are trying to, I don't think Conte trusts this defence at all, and he's got a right reason to do that. And I feel like once we have a proper solidified back 5, then I think that we can go there and play our football and be fighting there right at the top. I don't think we're that far away. I really don't.
No, I think a lot of the time with us, like, whenever we do go to attacking, we get caught. Like against Leeds, look at the goal. Look at the first goal we conceded. We're caught up high at the pitch. They are able to get in on our back line, and we're exposed every time. The defenders that we have a lot of the time aren't great in one-on-one situations. They need the cover and protection. Whereas if we had some good defenders who are better in one-on-one situations, we'd be a much more different team and much better. We can be much more aggressive. We can just force the issue. But right now we're focused too much on protection, rightly so. So I do believe I can see potential in this team even now. I see the potential and what we could be. but it's so obvious what's holding us back. And if we can sort those things out, I believe this team could thrive massively.
The fact of the matter is we score goals for fun, right? We score goals for absolute fun. Harry Kane, Heung-min Son, Kulusevski, Richarlison and Hill waiting in the wings with Højbjerg and Bentancur backing them up, Perisic as well. We just need to sort out this defence, and I promise you we'll be all right.
Yeah, 100%. I think we do play better football than people give us credit for. I just think that the back line a lot of the time is letting us down, and we need to make sure that we're improving that situation, because the players we're relying on, we know how good they are. It's not a case of giving them time. We know how their quality. It's no secret to everyone. So if we can sort those issues out, this Conte team could fly. And I think the fact that he's got us in top 4 is a credit to him, because we could easily be sitting here and we're like 6th right now, and I could still be saying I trust Conte and I want to give him time, but we've got a battle to get into the top 4 and stuff like that. But the fact that he's got us in the top 4 right now is a testament to his coaching ability and how he can get the most out of players.
Yeah, absolutely. Champions League, top the group. Fairly good campaign so far. Obviously, we started it with a home win to Marseille, Richarlison scoring 2 goals. Then we went out to Lisbon. We lost 2-0 in a very poor performance.
But 2 goals in stoppage time.
It was 2 goals in stoppage time, but it wasn't the greatest performance. Although I think we could have nicked a couple of goals that day. Then Frankfurt away 0-0, which we really should have taken 3 points in that game. It was a fairly good display. 3-2 at home to Frankfurt, which we thoroughly deserved the win, apart from those few little mishaps. Sporting at home 1-1, really should have won that game.
Yeah.
And Marseille away, which we snatched it in the last minute. So I think that when you're looking at the actual performances and the games that we've played, we should have won this group a lot easier than we did.
We should have. It was a bit of an interesting group, because when you first saw it, everyone was like, "Oh, it's so easy because there's no super team."
Yeah.
Right. But there's also no rubbish terrible team in there as well. So there's no like game where it's a gimme you're going to get 3 points, like if you have an easy team. So I did think maybe people weren't appreciating the difficulty of that group potentially. But I don't think we're outplayed in any game. For me, I think the worst we probably played was probably the first half against Marseille. That was probably the most we were outplayed, because they really dominated.
In Lisbon, we did get peppered a little bit. Like in that first half, Marcus Edwards was giving us a torrid time.
They had I guess they had a few moments. I wouldn't say we got outplayed though in Lisbon. I would say I guess maybe in the first half, but I would say the only time I really felt they're playing better than us, though.
They did pin us in
Marseille. And then, obviously, they got sent off. We won the game 2-0. But I think in every other game, we've been very much in the game. Either that or we've been slightly better. We have, I think... I don't think we've been outplayed, but we haven't smashed any team either. We haven't been like far better, apart from maybe for the hour against Frankfurt when we went 3-1 up. We were much better than them, and we should have seen that game out easily before they got man sent off, and actually that made us worse. But in a weird way. But I think we did very well to top the group. We did very well to get the wins. Maybe made too much hard work of it as it should have been, because we should have had it wrapped up by that Sporting game. Yeah. Unfortunately, the Kane goal got ruled out. But I've been fairly happy with our Champions League performances. I think away from home, we've done okay. 1 win, 1 draw, 1 loss, and then at home 2 wins and a draw.
And the win coming in a proper pressure game as well.
Yeah, and the draw we got at home, we probably got robbed a bit with that last minute goal. So you have to say, I think the Champions League, the performances have been decent. The only thing is, once we come against much higher level opposition, are we going to be able to cope? I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how we line up and how we approach games when
again we need better defenders in to progress.
But I think, given the fact that Conte has history and not even make out the group stages in the Champions League, I think last 2 times he's gone out in the groups with Inter.
Yeah,
he went out in the group,
yeah.
and one of their groups wasn't specifically the hardest. So the fact that he's taken this team out of the group is a positive, and he's definitely something to build on. And look, AC Milan in the next round, I reckon he'll be fancying his chances of us getting through that game.
We have to fancy our chances against Milan. We have to.
As much as they're in better form, they're second in the league, to be fair, in Serie A. I think you've got to fancy our chances in that game. Then we see, look, Champions League, and it's interesting to hear Conte talk about Champions League, and he says, like, in Champions League in a knockout competition, you've always got much bigger chances to go through and win than you do in Premier League when it's about consistency. So
he sounded like, when I heard him talking about it, he actually sounded like he thinks that we can win the Champions League this year.
I mean, you never know.
You do never know.
You never know. Like worse teams than us have got to finals and stuff, of the Champions League, and even won it. You could argue that Chelsea team, when they won it, they finished sixth in the division. They were rubbish.
Yeah.
But they won it. Liverpool, when they won it, they finished fifth. So you never know in the Champions League. It's all about either you can either get a favourable draw, or sometimes you can just step it up.
Look at Real Madrid last season, for God's sake.
Yeah, yeah. 100%.
I know Real Madrid are Real Madrid, but they had no right.
I know, but they were league champions. You know what I mean?
I get that, but they played poorly in pretty much every game.
Yeah, and they got
just
through.
about got through.
Look at us when we got to the final.
Yeah,
a few years ago. Are we worse now than we were then? Not necessarily.
Are we worse now than we were then? No, we're not.
Probably not. So, who knows? Who knows what can happen in the Champions League? That's a competition where anything can happen.
We need to get past Milan and get a favourable draw in the quarters. And if we can, win that favourable draw in the quarters, anything can happen from the semi-finals onwards.
I think we got the player. Look, when you have Kane and Son there, and you in the striking positions, you never know what can happen. You never know if we can just play to our strengths and get Kane and Son involved. You never know.
So you're backing us to win the Champions League?
Let's do it. Why not? You can never really predict who's going to win the Champions League, in my opinion, because you just never you just never know. But
apart from when Real Madrid won it those 3 years in a row, it was pretty easy then. But
yeah.
But I get what you're saying.
So I think the fact that we're still in the Champions League, we've got everything to play for, and we've got top four to play for. I think there's a lot of excitement left, and I think the fans have got to get more on board, in my opinion, for what's happening.
We need to stop this booing. We need to stop this negativity. We need to get behind this team because they're doing literally the best that they can do.
Looking
at
the position we're in, why are people so unhappy?
It's because of what Arsenal are doing. I think it's plain and simple. I think people are frustrated because they're seeing the way Arsenal are playing football. They're seeing them top of the league. They're seeing them 5 points clear at the top. And they're looking at us. We're conceding 2 goals a game at the moment. Yes, we're in fourth. Yes, we're through in the Champions League, but it's not the greatest thing to watch right now. And our defence is tragic right now. And it's hard to watch us play like this and, drop down from third to fourth, where Arsenal are just swatting away everyone they're playing at the moment and they're clearing top.
Yeah, but you can only judge yourself against who you were yesterday. There's a saying I like.
Yeah,
and I think
that might be the saying that you go by, but that's not the saying that a lot of people go by.
Well, they should, because Spurs can only concentrate on improving themselves. And Arteta's been at Arsenal for now 3.5 years or something, or 4 years, whatever it is. And he's had time to build his team. Conte's had a year, and in that year, he's taken us from a team that finished 6th and 7th to now to 4th, and now back in the top 4.
I agree with you.
So if you're not happy with that improvement, I don't know what you're going to be. I
agree with you, but also you've got to look at the performance levels have dropped off from the last part of last season, where I thought we were playing really well, scoring many goals, not conceding hardly any goals, and it's looked a bit different this season as well. So the performances haven't got better from last season. In fact, they've got worse. Yeah,
but we're playing 1 game a week.
Yeah.
So it's something we're going to have to put up with, and that's it. But the fact of the matter is, he's had those problems, and we're still in the top 4. So that's a testament to how good a job we're doing, in my opinion, rather than a stick to beat him with.
Yeah, look, I completely agree with you. I mean, when I'm judging Spurs' season and when I'm judging how well we've done under Antonio Conte, I mean, Arsenal aren't even in my mind at all. I don't think it's relevant at all what Arsenal are doing when you're looking at how good Spurs are doing. And I just think that Spurs fans just put that to one side and don't care about it. Who cares what they're doing? Let's be honest. Just concentrate on ourselves. And if we concentrate on ourselves and do what we need to do and improve this defence, we'll be completely fine.
100%. And I'm happy with the progress we're making. And I'm looking forward to the second half of the season. Plenty of games still to go. Literally like 5/8 of the season pretty much still to go.
Yeah.
So over there's more than halfway. We're more than half a season. So plenty to fight for.
Exactly. Yeah, so there you have it. And also, we'll just touch on the Carabao Cup quickly. It was tragic.
It was bad. We went out. All right. We're pissed about it because we're not going to win that trophy, but it is what it is. Look,
Are Spurs going to win a trophy this season? Well, you said we're winning the Champions League.
Champions League and FA Cup, we're going to win double, mate.
Do you think if we win the Champions League and Arsenal win the title, it takes a bit of gloss off their title win?
100%. Mate, when they were in the Europa League final, they didn't want to win it.
Yeah, it's a bit different Europa League to Premier League title.
Yeah, but if we win the Champions League, that's something they've never won. So, 100%.
Something we've never won either.
What?
Premier League.
We've won the title.
No, I said Premier League.
Yeah, we've won a title.
Yeah.
We won the English title. They've never won the Champions League.
Remember it well, don't we? All right. Well, that is our mid-season review so far. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.